You're listening to Well Within 10, a bite-sized approach to working on your wellness. 10 minutes of wellness thought leadership from experts across the country, hosted by me, founder Stevie Gable Carr. Today, we're chatting with Courtney Carroll, a licensed professional counselor with Poppy's Therapeutic Corner. Thank you so much for joining us here, Courtney.
You're so welcome. So glad to be here, Stevie.
Oh my gosh. So what are we going to be chatting about today?
So today we're going to be chatting about the ability to ask for help.
Ooh, I love that. Well, before we dive in, this episode is powered by the Christ Hospital. For more than 130 years, the Christ Hospital has been dedicated to providing the best, most compassionate care for our community. By continually reimagining what healthcare can be, Christ has become more than just a hospital. Today, they're an extensive network of 6,500 employees, 1,200 physicians, and 600 volunteers, serving patients in more than 100 locations throughout Greater Cincinnati. Learn more at thechristhospital.com. So Courtney, asking for help, something that I know all of us could use a little bit more advice on how to do. So let's chat about this. What are some things that people can do to ask for help, and how can we maybe all surrender a little bit to, the circumstances and really understand a bit more about, what help really looks like?
So, Stevie, something I'd like to kind of pull together for this is the surrender to support, and how important it is when you're asking for help first to know what you need. So I would suggest to people, like, write out a list of things that you need, whether it's getting something done, whether it's monetary, whether it's just emotional support, physical support. So it's easier to ask for help when you actually know what those things are. Um, Another part with asking that is kind of checking your pride and seeing, why is it so hard to ask for help? Because maybe there's something that's deeper rooted. And so maybe journaling and processing about that, because if you know what you want, but you don't know why you can't ask it, maybe working on that can help you be
Oh
able
my
to
gosh,
surrender.
that's so important to just really acknowledge. So many of us sit in the discomfort and a little bit of the overwhelm. And I think that that's so crucial we expect other people, and maybe even build up a little resentment that people don't know what we want when we don't even know what we want. And it's so
Very true.
powerful to really acknowledge and say, what is it? And how do I identify that through, working through some of those things, like journaling can be really important.
Mhm. And the last part I came up with is, thinking about checking your tribe, who is your support systems. A lot of times I hear people say, I don't have anyone, or I don't know anyone, or I don't have a support system. But I try to challenge that and say, maybe write down the people that you know, people that you talk to, your coworkers, and see if there's a list, and start to see what resources that you actually have, because people usually find out they actually have way more support than what they really do.
Now, I want to dive into that a little bit, because I do find that a lot of women feel that way. I also feel like a lot of men feel that way. I've
Mhm.
been doing a lot of coaching lately with a lot of men that are in, high positions of leadership in their careers. But it's so interesting that they're surrounded by so many people all day, but they don't feel like they can really, connect with people in a way where if they do need something, or they need to talk about something, or they truly, just need someone to sit there with them and they don't
Mhm.
feel like they have anybody. So let's talk a little bit about why people might feel that way. You had mentioned ego a little bit, that people might feel judged and they might not feel psychologically safe. I mean, are there some things that you can do in order to kind of create a sense of psychological safety, or maybe a sense of camaraderie with people, that if you feel uncomfortable reaching out for help and asking, maybe there's a way to work on building that relationship so you create a safe space?
Absolutely. I think that it's important to, well, first, sometimes people are around people at work and they may not be your people. Sometimes you feel, and I think I want to kind of pull on that if you don't feel safe around those people, or you don't feel like you connect with them, that's okay. But if you're into public speaking, maybe looking into your community for groups and organizations that kind of mirror the things that you enjoy, and trying new things, so that way you can be close to your tribe. Sometimes it isn't the people that you work with. Sometimes it's not your colleagues. Sometimes it's not the board members, but it is important that you do find your people and try to step outside the box. That's something I would suggest.
Yeah.
It's a very subjective situation. So with more information, then we can kind of shape it around that. But I would say step outside the box and sometimes validate yourself like, these may not be my people, but maybe if I go to this event, I might meet people, and always having that in mind. So,
well, and I love that. And I also do think, that there are opportunities like what you provide, Courtney, which at Poppy's Therapeutic Corner, I know that for me, I can be vulnerable here and say that part of my challenge is I am the strongest person that I know and the strongest person in my friend group. And I never want to inconvenience anyone. So I started with therapy, and reaching out to somebody professionally to, work that muscle of vulnerability a little bit, open up and kind of really share a peek under the hood on all of the things that I was really trying to sort out. And once I understood the importance of bringing people into my circle and letting people in and sharing that and being able to be vulnerable, I really started to realize how disconnected I had been from other humans because I was trying to maintain that strong persona and not wanting to appear weak. And quite honestly, didn't trust anybody around me with that information. And then once I realized, hey, you can trust people, and you realize, there's a whole piece that kind of allows for you to feel reconnected to yourself and to society. I think that, I didn't really realize I was lacking because I just didn't feel like I needed it. Yeah.
And just, being that type of person that is the hard worker or the go-to person is, you do put that title on yourself, but it's really important to check in because the person who thinks that they're strongest sometimes is needing the most. And those friends may have other strengths that we didn't even know about because we didn't trust them enough to explore that. So
yeah, I think that's really powerful. And the last thing, just as we're closing, I know that you've been a huge advocate, specifically in the pandemic, but beyond as well, for mental health providers also being able to reach out for help and ask for help. And I think that that's just something that's so powerful when we are, speaking to the people who care for others, that if anybody is listening who is a mental health provider, a physician, a teacher, a caregiver for the elderly, anybody that's in a position of caring, that so many of us, but in particular, I feel like that's just something that I've really valued, that you've used your voice to do that and been vulnerable in a lot of ways to be able to amplify that, because we need everyone to be healthy. I mean, everybody needs you, but who's supporting you? And I think that that's just a really important piece for us to remember, that stepping up in that way, it takes a lot of courage, but it also takes a lot of vulnerability. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you for acknowledging it.
Yes, absolutely. Well, if you want to learn more about Courtney and Poppy's Therapeutic Corner, you can check us out at wisewellnessguild.com. Courtney has a lot of really great advice and work that she's spoken on mental health on our blog. So we'll go ahead and put a link there. And if you have any other questions, just please make sure that you reach out. Courtney is a wealth of knowledge and information, and we want to make sure that we are supporting her and Poppy's Therapeutic Corner any way that we can. Thank you so much for joining us. You've been listening to Well Within 10, a bite-sized approach to working on your wellness. You can find more episodes wherever you get your podcasts.